Hey guys, welcome to the New Paradigm Intimacy podcast. I'm here with Serdar today, and he has a business called the Emerald Heart. And he does work with clearing emotional blocks, working with inner child stuff, and also heart clearings. And the reason I brought him on the show today is because he posted something that really caught my eye the other day, where he was sharing about how he was saying no to sex in the heat of the moment. So I brought him on stage to share a little bit about that. But firstly, I'll hand over to you, Serdar, to share a little bit about who you are, what you do, and yeah, why you're passionate about the work of sexuality.
Thank you, Victoria. Who am I? Where do I start? So I'll just give a brief little introduction to my personal development journey here over the last 2 years. So it all started 2 years ago. I met a woman, and before that time, I wasn't really aware of conscious connecting or relating or sexuality, and I was just a man in the world going about having sex with women, not really knowing what real connection was or even what love was. It wasn't really a thing that I had an experience of as a result of my upbringing and experiences in life. And so I had this connection with this woman who was part of the spiritual community, who introduced me to some ideas around tantric sex, around personal development, and that connection brought me into greater awareness of what was happening within myself, starting to identify what's going on within my emotional world, within my heart. And that's because I was had a really strong connection with her, but she wasn't emotionally available for that. And so that really forced me to look at what's going on for me in that. And so fast forward a little bit, a lot of workshops and personal development stuff. A year ago, I did ISTA, the International School of Temple Arts retreat in Byron Bay, and that really opened up a whole new world for me around connecting with people on an even deeper level, understanding what's going on within myself, clearing some of my blockages to intimacy, the work around inner child healing, so clearing my relationship with my mother and my father. And that really set me up to integrate a lot of the experiences and learnings that I had accumulated over the year before that. And it felt like it was time to start to share what I was learning about clearing some of these blockages, to come into greater connection within myself and being able to share that with others as well, through things like communication, like connecting or communicating with people authentically and sharing what's really going on for me, where in the past I didn't even know that was a possibility or a thing that I could do. So it wasn't part of my world to be able to communicate to a woman that, for example, during the process of or in the midst of lovemaking, that I could say, I'm feeling like I need to take a break. 2 years ago, that was not a thing that would be a possibility for me to even consider that. And so as I've gone along this journey, new possibilities and ways of connecting authentically have become real possibilities for me. And so, yeah, that's part of my journey into deeper connection and authentic relating with women.
I love that. I actually just want to commend you as well. It's like you have had the ability to actually articulate this in such a powerful way. And I often see this for men as their access point into realizing that this is the work they're supposed to share with the world, is to have an experience of with a woman that access gives them access to that, to so many things that they never even thought was possible. And also that just your ability to allow your heartbreak to open up this this gateway for you actually is very touching to me. This is something that I really see from a lot of powerful men in this space is that their ability to be with their heartache. It's not even like transmuting their heartache or trying to get rid of it. It's actually just to really be with it in a very human way. That's very powerful, and I believe that's very tantric. You know, that ability to not feel the need to actually like transcend what's going on in the body, but to actually fully be with it. So I think that's very powerful what you're sharing in that way. So yeah, I want to speak a little bit to that post that I saw. So the post that I saw on Facebook that inspired me to want to interview you was you being with one of your lovers and having to say to them in the middle of this sexual experience that you were a no to continuing. And that was because you felt that her heart wasn't present. And yeah, my question to you is, as a man, how do you know when a woman's heart isn't present when you're having sex with them?
So with this, in this particular example in my post, this was before before I penetrated her. I could, it's interesting, this has happened in the past where I could feel that lack of presence within her, or the lack of her heart, the connection between our hearts. And this was the first time I could really identify it within myself that this is what I was picking up. Whereas in the past, I may have picked up that something felt missing, but I couldn't really put my finger on it. So what it felt like was one, and often I feel like it starts with projection. So I felt like it was her heart that was closed, and there was just a lack of resonance there. And even though the momentum was there for a sexual encounter for us we had our clothes off, we were cuddling in bed together. And so often in the past, when there's this momentum that's building, where it's like there's all these hormones at play and there's attraction there, but I'm not feeling her heart, but it's like maybe if we have sex, I'll feel her heart. And that's happened before. I've experienced that in the past, but I've also experienced what usually ends up happening is that we might have a connection during the lovemaking, but the person may go back to the closed state afterwards. So eventually it doesn't really serve me or the person, because something I really am desiring in my life right now is an ongoing heart connection with a woman, and to be able to experience that during the lovemaking as well, but also just in general. And so it's a really interesting place to come into, to be able to identify, this is what I'm feeling, this lack of heart resonance, just this sort of feeling that she's not really here with me fully in this moment, and also recognizing that I'm also experiencing that with her. It's like there's like a feedback mechanism in play there, where because I'm not feeling it from her, I'm not feeling it, but we're kind of in the momentum of a sexual encounter. So how can I stop this? How can I, or take a pause and say, I'm not sure what's going on here. Can we, just stop for a second and see what's going on here? So what I found was I got to a point where I could sort of slow things down so that I could start to feel myself more and feel what it is that's coming up for me in this experience. And being able to slow it down means that I can start to connect more with what I'm actually picking up energetically. And that was that her heart just wasn't available to go where I want to go with my lovemaking with people. And after that happened, I spoke to her, and it was clear that there was stuff going on for her that meant that she just wasn't available for that kind of heart connection with me. And it made sense that what I was picking up in that moment. But yeah, in the past, I've picked up that feeling, but I just couldn't identify what it was. And because of the momentum of the desire, I wasn't able to slow down and stop myself. So I wasn't empowered to anchor into my desire to actually have a really heart open experience with a woman during lovemaking. So Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. You know what I picked up in what you were sharing is like there's actually a certain level of abundance that that a human needs to be running to be, and man and woman need to be running to actually be able just to like drop into being able to feel the heart past the desire that we're connecting to. And one of the ways that I've experienced this for myself is like through my own self-pleasure practice, and it's almost like I'm pumping my own eros through my own body, so that I'm not in this place of like I need somebody else to activate my eros. So I'm curious to hear for you, like as a man, especially in this world, like what it is that allows you to be in that state of like that lack of scarcity and that abundant state that has you be able to feel into your heart and actually guide yourself from your heart beyond your desires. Like that's a very powerful thing for, I think, men to experience in this life. So yeah, I'd love to hear a bit about that.
That's such an interesting point that you raise, and yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I guess part of the context is I have had a lot of sex with a lot of women in my life, and so I've had enough experience with something similar to this that I could come into greater awareness of what it is I'm picking up, and also that it's not what I actually want. So as for the greater context of my life, yeah, I've had recent experiences with women where I picked up similar sorts of blockages, but I wanted to have a sexual encounter. I had that desire there, that was overriding my heart's yearning for love and connection. And it's happened in the past as well. And what I've been finding more and more is that it's just not serving me anymore. I'm just not finding it satisfying to have sex with people without that heart connection. And it's only through experience with having done it plenty of times before that I can now say, okay, I've had that, I've experienced that, I know how I feel afterwards. I know it doesn't change anything, even if we have a really beautiful experience during the lovemaking. It doesn't make the person more available or connected to their hearts in the long term. And so I think it's partially just my experience in being in similar situations, and also just really enjoying my life at the moment and feeling connected and loving of life itself. So I feel a lot of joy in my life at the moment. I feel like I'm in a place where I can make love to my purpose in the world, and I can feel love and connection with friendships, and I'm surrounded by beauty with where I'm living at the moment. And there's something about that um, creates a feeling of abundance within me as well. I'm surrounded by beauty. I have feminine energy in my life, and so in the past, being presented with an opportunity to have sex because maybe feminine energy wasn't abundant in my life, maybe I wasn't enjoying my life as much, and I didn't have as much happiness as I have now. I may have just taken that opportunity as, this is an opportunity to have sex. Maybe I'll have more happiness or joy through this. Now I know I already have joy and happiness in my life, and this is not going to give me more of that. I've experienced this enough that I can wait till I meet someone where there's more of a connection from the heart, and because I know that's the thing that takes my life to another level, is having that heart resonance with someone and making love with that energy.
You know what I think is what I just picked up in what you shared as well is that that post that you did write actually got a lot of attention. And I think what you just shared is like that understanding of like you're actually breaking down a lot of the contracts that men and women have when you say that. It's like we're very used to women saying no to men to have sex. Like that's the paradigm that we live in. It's like the women hold the power as such, in that space. And I think what you're speaking to is just like, oh, well, actually, I've got a lot of abundance. There's a lot of feminine energy in my life, and I'm not searching for anything, and I know what I want, and this is what I want to create. So, yeah, as a you know, I can imagine that some women in the world could find that quite confronting, you know, to feel that they no longer hold that power inside of the games of sexuality. And so I'm curious what your experience has been like with women when you have, you know, shared like this is what you're only available for, and anything that's come up around like women, you know, you holding that particular card in the realms of sexuality.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see that how much it's resonated with so many women. And it's not the first time I've said no to a woman during sex, but it's the first time I've written about it. So with my ex, there was a time when I could feel that she wasn't present in with me, and I'm trying to remember the circumstances of that. But I could feel there was something going on with her around another man in her life. We were open relating at the time, and I could feel she wasn't really present with me, and she wanted to have sex. And I said, I feel like you're not present enough for this. I don't want to go there with you. And I could feel that it was jarring for her, and it was surprising, um, and I was surprised that she was surprised that I would not want to have sex with her when she's not really present to me, and what we're experiencing in this moment together. So um, yeah, it's something that I've been coming more and more into the empowerment around what it is that I want in my lovemaking and in my sex, and saying no to what isn't actually in alignment with that. And with the woman that this post was inspired by, specifically after I said no and explained what was going on for me, she was understanding. And then the next day she was like, what you were saying about, you know, feeling like my heart, there might be some blockage there. She's like, I think you might be onto something there. And she wanted to do a session with me to uncover what might be there. And so by choosing to not go there, I allowed something deeper to come through, both for her and myself. And we did uncover some really deep blockages in her emotional field, that may have been connected to why she wasn't fully available or present, or her heart wasn't there with me. And so I feel like the way that I choose to express myself means that, and doing it from a place of love and expressing that, you know, although I want to pursue a connection of some kind, this is not what feels right for me, and explaining why and doing it with love allows people to receive it with openness. So yeah.
Amazing. I have a question for you around you know, what you're talking about is pretty radical for some people, you know, like it's like really that level of sovereignty around your own sexuality. And, you know, for most people, going into a sexual experience is so vulnerable anyway. So, you know, being able to speak your truth in that moment can be very difficult. So I'm curious of what has been the most challenging part for you in this journey of you coming into your own sexual sovereignty.
I think the most challenging thing is to really be able to give myself permission to feel whatever it is that I'm feeling, and to communicate that even in the heat of the moment, because it can be so easy for me to just allow whatever is flowing to flow, and to not actually speak into what's going on for me. One, because it's been a long process for me to even identify what's going on for me underneath my desire or my lust, what's happening within my heart in a encounter like that. So, and then having the courage to be able to express it, that's been the radical shift for me, to know that not only is it okay for me to have a need or a desire to either slow things down or to not proceed, to be able to communicate that and know that whether this person is able to receive that or not, I'm okay in the world. This is not the end of my sexual life or my love life to say no to this right now, or to say that I need to slow down here, I need to take a break. And that kind of permission of my own experience and what I need has been, I think, the biggest shift for me, to give myself that permission to say that what I need in this moment, and what I'm experiencing in this moment, is valid and it's worthy of being expressed. And not only that, but the feminine, I can trust the feminine to receive that, not only receive that and not like be turned off or decide that she never wants to talk to me again, to trust that she will also value that. She will hear that and honor that. So that's been a radical shift for me. And that's been an experiential thing. You know, that wasn't part of my world until maybe 6 months ago, when I experienced that for the first time. And I felt during, when I was making love to my ex, and I felt this permission to say, I need to take a break. And that was the first time. That was like a radical shift for me, that I can do that. I can say that and know that it's going to be okay. It's not the end of the world. And she received that really openly and beautifully. So that was a big shift for me.
Amazing. And I mean, with a lot of the men that study at the Institute of New Paradigm Intimacy, one of the ways that they have spoken to me about their ability to be comfortable with those uncomfortable conversations is about how their self-pleasure practice has allowed them to be okay when things are uncomfortable, and be okay when things are a little bit clunky with themselves. And that sort of transfers into how they be with their partners. So I just wondered if you had any practices for the men listening, or even the women listening, that you might want to share, of like how you be with those uncomfortable moments when someone maybe is feeling rejected, or you're feeling rejected, or there is discomfort. How do you be with those moments?
So I think a hugely beneficial practice for me has been the self-acceptance, the journey of self-acceptance that I've been on, and learning to be with anything that's coming up for me, and give myself permission to be in that, whatever it happens to be. And so I feel like self-acceptance is such a huge piece for being able to then accept that someone else may also be able to accept where I'm at. I think that's where that inner journey is so powerful, because I accept that this is where I'm at, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I need. And that's been such a beautiful journey for myself, because my background, my childhood is one of, abandoning my needs and feeling that I need to do something or perform or please someone in order to receive love or connection. And so connecting back with what it is that I actually am experiencing and needing and wanting, and giving myself full permission and full acceptance of that, that's the only way I'm able to then come into connection with someone and express whatever it happens to be that's coming up for me, with how messy it might be, or how inconvenient it might be on the surface. I can trust now that it's okay, because I accept that within myself, and that's the standard that I have now in my connections with people.
I love that. Yeah, that's really powerful. And I mean, imagine what it would look like if, the whole world started living their life like that, and started being okay with any kind of discomfort that comes up, which then would eradicate the discomfort of when these things come up, which would allow everybody to have their sexual sovereignty. And, that's a world that really excites me.
Totally.
Yeah, I love this. I love this sharing, and I'm super grateful that you've come on to have this conversation with me today, because I think it's going to be really groundbreaking for a lot of people. I kind of just want to wrap this up by just sort of, again, just thanking you for bringing this conversation to the internet for people to hear and to share. And just the last question, I think, is like, my desire would be to see a world where more men are speaking about these experiences that they're having, and actually having the bravery to come out and speak about this. So do you have anything that you might want to share for those men that maybe are having these experiences, that, could be sharing this stuff on the internet? What is it that they might need to hear to take that step forward?
What I needed to hear is that what I'm experiencing is not weird or
Mm.
it doesn't mean there's something wrong with me. And what I'm experiencing and what I'm feeling is worthy of being met with love. So whatever it is that's coming up for you, there are other people who may have experienced something similar. So finding those people, seeing that there are people in the world talking about this stuff now, um, and that allowing that permission field to come into your own experiences, knowing that there are other people who have experienced this and are talking about these things, and just knowing that, yeah, the feminine, we can trust that it's not going to make us unattractive or ugly or turn women off to honor what it is that we need and what's coming up for us. And it's actually not only not detrimental, it's the thing that we need to take our lives to the next level of fulfillment, is to really honor what's coming up for us and what's going on within our hearts.
Mm. Powerful. I love that. Wow. Yes. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us today. It's been an absolute honor to hear your journey and how you got to where you are today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Mm. Thank you so much.